Hello and welcome to the third edition of the Humpday Bogart special, and today I am not talking about any songs from the album but more about something about Bogie. One, because I'm trying to spread everything out because there's only about 9 songs and the album's not going to be out until at least September, and the single's probably not until about June or July, so I'm just kind of spreading things out. But this is a subject I've always thought really important about Bogie, and I think it should be covered more. In that someone described him as a sensitive, tough guy, and that's it covers it pretty well. He was kind and he was gentle, but he had a lot of things that went on in his life that made his life quite difficult. And I think in this day and age where with men's mental health and men not feeling like they can talk out. It's the 21st century and you still can't. They just still don't feel that comfortable. I think Bogie's still incredibly relatable for boys because he played all the tough guys, but it doesn't sound like that was exactly what he was like behind the scenes. And I think if people discovered more how he was in real life, I think they would relate to him and feel a lot more comfortable about being more open and more in touch with their feelings, I suppose, because Bogie was kind of both. So his family, I think his father died in his arms and left him with about, $10,000 in debt. His mother was a suffragette and he admired her a lot, and she did the illustrations and baby books, so Humphrey Bogart was drawn as a baby a lot. And she was a suffragette, so she wasn't very affectionate. And he had 2 younger sisters. One of them died when she was about 30 because she basically burnt herself out during the speakeasy age prohibition thing. And he had another one who she was lovely and she was married, she had a daughter and she loved them all. But I think it might have been depression, but she suffered from something and her marriage disintegrated basically, and I think she had to be put into a home type thing, and Bogie basically spent most of his time trying to look after her, keep in contact with her and keep an eye on where his niece was, and look after her basically. So he didn't have it particularly easy, and he had, Lauren Bacall was his 4th wife. He had 3. The first 2 they're all actresses, but the first 2 were just kind of focused on their career, which is understandable, so that didn't work out, and the second one kind of led to the third one, because they had to be in separate places for work. She was on Broadway and he was somewhere else, and he kind of said, don't stay away too long, you can focus on it, but we can't be apart for too long. And they kind of ended up being apart for too long, and he must have got lonely and may have got a little bit drunk and probably had a fling with his third wife, and he felt incredibly guilty about it and went straight back to, I think it was Chicago, to his second wife to apologise and trying to work things out, only to find that she was already having an affair with the guy on Broadway. So that ended quite amicably, and he ended up being the gentleman that he is, feeling that he should marry Metho. I can't say it properly. She was a good actress, marrying her because he felt it was the right thing to do. But the trouble with Mayo is that she had a lot of problems. One, which was alcoholism and jealousy. So this is what leads to how he came to love Lauren Bacall, basically, because Mayo would get extremely jealous. And this is the important thing I think most people need to know, in that it was basically domestic abuse. You wouldn't think that for Humphrey Bogart, but Mayo used to get extremely jealous about anything, and she would throw ashtrays, lamps, anything at him. And she even once quite literally stabbed him in the back. Lauren Bacall says he has a scar to prove it. And you wouldn't think that this guy who's, well known for being gangsters and hardboiled detectives would be getting things thrown at him most nights. And it's why he ended up drinking a lot too, to kind of cope. And I did read somewhere she even pushed him in a river once because she thought he was looking at the girl across the other side, and he was not. So it's not her fault really, but it just made things very difficult. So you can understand why when he met Lauren Bacall, why he fell so much in love with her, because they were perfect for each other, and he had all that stuff going on, and he found it very difficult to. He was trying to be kind to everybody, basically. In the letters he would write to Lauren Bacall, telling how much he loved her, but not being able to know how to end it with Mahon, which they did eventually. But a couple of times he had to he wanted to try and make it work, because she would say, oh, I'm going to try and give up drinking, and it wouldn't work. But look, I've got Lauren Bacall's book here, and I've still not finished it because I'm a wuss. I'm a bit like Joey in Friends, where he has to put the book in the freezer because he doesn't want anything bad to happen, and I'm kind of near that bit where I don't want to read about Bogie dying because I'm a wuss. And he died of cancer, and my granddad did, and it's kind of a thing you don't. I know how hard it is to go through, and I don't really want to read that for Lauren Bacall just yet. I need to be a bit braver. But the other thing about him that shows how sensitive he was is he was worried about their age difference when it did come to them getting married. Not more for her sake rather than him. But boys, if you need to talk, then he spoke to Peter Lorre. He spoke to all his other friends, but Peter Lorre said the thing kind of changed his mind, which was, if I can find where it is. And I've lost my page. I'll find it later. But it was basically, even if you get 5 years with her, 5 years is better than nothing. And that's when Bogie decided, I suppose for his own happiness as well, that I need to marry her. And, well, they lived happily for 12 years until he died, and they had 2 children, so that says something really. And Lauren Bacall says he even, one time you wouldn't think Humphrey Bogart would cry, but she did. At their wedding he did cry a little bit, because he didn't realise, hadn't originally, even though he'd been married 4 times, he didn't know what the words meant until then, and he was looking at Lauren Bacall and realised what the words meant really, and she said he cried a little bit. But there was another time when their relationship was about to come out into the press, and she was coming to meet him. It was a premiere for To Have and Have Not, I think, and he was going to meet her family, and nobody knew yet, and she was going to meet him at a hotel, but she basically got stuck with a load of journalists in her hotel room because Bogie got a little bit drunk the night before and accidentally told someone how much he loved her. And so this press were trying to ask her a whole load of questions and had her trapped in her room, and Bogie was trying to ring her on the phone every 10 minutes, and she couldn't leave until she had to, I think she had to either hide in the bathroom or say she needed to, have a bath and make the journalist get out of her room. And she managed to kind of get out and go to his room, and she basically found him with tears rolling down his face because he thought that she didn't love him anymore. She decided that the marriage wasn't a good idea, and she didn't want him anymore. So it's, in boys, it's okay to overthink things, and it's okay to have anxiety about things and worry. Just need to tell people, and she kind of had to go in and reassure him and she had his wedding ring on, or engagement ring on. She had to put it on the right finger and kind of say, look, it's going to be all right. And then they got married, and they lived very happily ever after. So I think he is a good role model for this stuff. You should all read more into it, I think, of how gentle and kind he was. He was really kind to his friends and to people he worked with, or the people that he deemed needed it. I think the people that rubbed him up the wrong way, you would have... you don't need to be friends with everybody, to be fair. But I think Bogie's still important in many ways, and I think that's one of the ways that it's not remembered all the time. And I think Lauren Bacall tried a lot in the later years to try and remind people that he was sensitive and he wasn't just this tough guy that everybody remembers from him in the films. So that was the 3rd edition of the Humpday Bogart. And if there's anything else you'd like me to talk about, you can tell me. and I hope you liked it, and I will see you next week. Have a good one.